Dude, I had some issues accidentally getting the thing uploaded late yesterday, but I swear I'm not gonna have the problems today.
This time for sure, this video will be out exactly when it intends to be. Which, as of right now, we are sitting at the end of Echo's Saturday.
Yes.
Which is their 4th day.
Yes.
And Liquid are in the middle of their 5th day. Liquid have slain Kurog Grimtotem just a few short hours ago as of the time of recording this. Whereas Echo have done 5 Mythic bosses today. They are actually on the board. They've killed all 5 of the Mythic bosses that they were behind at the start of the day. Of course, now they're another boss behind with Liquid's recent kill, but they are working on Kurog. They're 7 pulls in, 45%, so I suspect that's something they're going to be hoping to kill early into their day tomorrow.
Just for some context, whenever we were talking about Dathia and mid-tier walls yesterday, Dathia, like basically 30 minutes after recording our video, received a 15% HP nerf. And then within basically the hour,
it fell over.
Liquid killed it.
Yeah.
So it was like a 50 pull boss. It was actually fairly difficult. But if you see the 24 hours ago thing, that's how that went from 43.8 to 0
to dead.
Yeah. They ended up playing like 50 pulls, I think.
Yeah, and Echo also took I think 50 pulls ish on that boss too. So a boss that in Echo's position right now, they're hoping to be able to kill bosses in not just less pulls, but like substantially less pulls would be good for them because their pulls also tend to take longer, and they're behind, right? They need to catch up.
So I think let's talk about the rest of the race. I think that generally the top, rounding out the top 5 speculatively are going to be like BDGG, Method, and then one. Maybe probably like a Chinese guild.
Yeah, maybe Skyline or JTH. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the Chinese guilds I think is going to round out the top 5. Currently, BDGG. They've recently killed Sinarth. They had a lot of problems on Sinarth, like the damage check.
Yeah, 56 pulls on that encounter is a lot.
I think that's like due largely to their item level disparity between them and the other guilds. The other Race World First guilds optimized loot a lot. They capitalized on character copies.
They split much more Razagats.
Yeah, and that allowed them to be 2 or 3 item levels ahead of BDGG, which then at that point they had issues on Sinarth. I'm worried about BDGG on Dathia damage check and Corrupt Grimtotem damage check, but they have the opportunity to go in M+ right now, which is, I think, what they are doing. Makes sense for them.
Yeah, Method as well. You don't see them on the board right now. What Method did was they walked into the raid, did 2 bosses, one-shot the first 2 bosses, and then also went and broke to do M+. M+, a really valuable source of gear this time around, because not only can you get 402 or even 405 items, but you're also getting those concentrated primal focus. So the first 20 Mythic plus / Mythic bosses that you kill get you 4 18s for doing that, and that is really, really valuable.
So talking about where Method is, I think that Method has had a really slow start. They are prioritizing making sure that they have enough gear in the long run, because gear is a very important element to this Race to World First. At the same point, they're really late to start in Mythic, which they do have 2 bosses killed, but I think it's still concerning nonetheless.
All right, so should we take a look at some Kurog Grimtotem action here?
Yeah, I guess we'll just cut immediately to Kurog Grimtotem. Let's talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, so this boss did go down for Liquid eventually. Quite a scary encounter. On Mythic, you get these extra adds during each of the side phases. Each time that you move the boss to a new element, you get an add spawn. And there's actually a lot of optimization, and not just optimization, but precise positioning, especially in this fire phase that you're watching right now, that end up mattering. But the big thing as well is that eye level 400, there's a tight enrage check on this boss. Liquid ended up hitting that enrage and bashing their heads against it from 35 down to 0, basically.
Yeah, the first time they hit the enrage was at 35%. They were playing a really bad strat on the fight. What's up? They were playing a really bad strat on the fight, and basically what they were doing is they were killing the last ad of the encounter. And then once they started optimizing that to where they were able to just push forward, that started really pushing their progression a lot. Then you saw a bunch of sub 5% wipes, and then they were able to kill it. And it was like 50 some odd pulls?
Yeah, it was around there. Yeah, 50 to 60 pulls for Kurog, like Dathia. So that moves us now towards Broodkeeper Diurna, which that is it's a penultimate boss, right? So it's going to be a huge question of, is this going to be Kel'Thuzad 20 pulls? Is this going to be Stone Legion Generals 200 pulls, right? Like, what are we looking at as this penultimate boss? Because penultimate bosses historically tend to be where you see a really big jump in difficulty. And if Broodkeeper is one of those as well, that is going to be a big reason why this race would not go down in the first reset, right? Because right now, Liquid, it is their Saturday.
Yes.
So they have half of Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So 2.5 days to kill 2 bosses. If either Broodkeeper or Razageth are really quick bosses, that is feasible for a week 1 clear. If either or both are medium or hard level bosses, then that's probably not happening, right?
I think so. So one of the things too is I doubt Broodkeeper is going to be a 20 pull boss. I think that very infrequently do we see penultimate bosses that are sub even 50 pulls.
Kel'Thuzad was largely because, like, oh, this was killed in a very different way than the developers expected, right?
It was also undertuned, I think.
Well, it was undertuned because you could AFK in the phase and wait for your cooldowns to come back.
I guess that's fair.
And that was the insight that the guilds had that the developers were not expecting, right?
So, one of the what is the major Mythic mechanic for Broodkeeper Mythic?
So basically, on Mythic, first of all, you have to like kill 3 eggs every time. I think
yes,
that's a big difference. But also, the boss has an aura that stacks up a damage taken increase as you stand near it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to spend 30 seconds, 50 yards or more away from the boss for that aura to drop off. It looks like so. That's going to be a big thing for staying alive on that fight, and that's going to mean that there's got to be a precise strategy, and that's going to make it hard for people like Moonkin to stand in the middle and full damage both targets at full uptime.
Yes.
I suspect we'll see them dancing in, dancing out, and managing their stacks of that. The debuff on beta, it didn't ramp up that quickly, so going from a 10 to a 20% increased damage taken debuff wasn't that lethal. You could float it for a while, but
the thing is with like triple staff activation, is actually very, very deadly. So if you've done the fight on heroic, you know that there are some sets where you use 3 charges of the staff immediately. That the amount of raid wide damage that happens whenever that goes off is ridiculous.
So, and on Mythic we expect, of course, it will be on another level entirely.
I guess. Okay, so Broodkeeper has been called like Stone Legion General's light a couple of times.
Right.
Generally, the penultimate bosses have had some like weird ad fight symptoms where these ad encounters, it makes you feel like you're not participating on the boss itself, and it makes you feel like you are just playing a gimmick of the encounter, whether it be the staff or the ads, that deters from the encounter and it makes it less fun. Do you think that Broodkeeper is really going to have this issue? Dude, I keep looking at the wrong camera. I'm so dumb.
Yeah. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's inherently true that any fight that has like ads you have to prioritize, that has like an extra action button mechanic, I don't think those are inherently like gimmicks that will be unfun. I think Stone Legion Generals just did a lot of stuff really bad and really wrong, and that fight was unfun, not because of the ads, but because of how the ads worked and because of how the spell queuing worked, and that sort of thing. Maybe Broodkeeper will have that as well, but I'm a little bit optimistic, actually. I think it will not be as bad as Stone Legion Generals.
I think it will probably be an average penultimate boss.
Yeah.
You know what's actually funny? Zakul is another penultimate boss that people actually put in fairly high regard.
Some do, some don't.
I think that Zakul is very average, and I think that's kind of how I feel about Broodkeeper as well. It's more like Zakul-esque, where you're waiting for some people to figure out how to progress the fight. Like for Zakul, it was your triple rogue group. You would wait for them to figure out how to do whatever.
Yeah.
I think on Broodkeeper, you're going to be waiting on like a couple of people to figure out exactly
maybe the boss people, the ad people at different parts,
Yeah.
The movement of the boss. It's going to be very interesting to see. We'll see how this prediction turns out when we probably come back tomorrow in the next couple days and talk a bit more about Broodkeeper.
I think it'll be at least 50 pulls minimum, just looking at the balancing across the rest of the raid, especially since like guilds are
50 plus on Kurog and Dathia already as well, right?
I think that the fact that
so undergeared.
People are entering Prog very undergeared.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not. The odds of you waltzing over a penultimate boss is ridiculously low. They've also been continuously buffing bosses. Razageth has caught like 5 or 6 buffs since the Race World first has started.
Yeah,
even.
Razageth Mythic. So unpulled bosses getting buffed is a very common thing that you'll see in the data mining, because they can nerf bosses once they've been pulled, but they do not like to buff bosses once they've actually been pulled.
Last topic for today. We're going to talk about reset gaming and like kind of what to expect. I think that the reset seems like it's
95% chance that we see the second reset here.
And the reason for that is because the odds of Razageth not being at least 100 pull boss minimum is very, very low.
Especially at this item level.
I think that it's expected for Razageth to be north of 150 pulls, which would push us into the reset. I think that we're probably going to see. I think that we're going to start initial progression on Razageth. I think it'll be similar to like Sire Denathrius-esque with what's going on here. So then that leads to a question of what should you expect out of the reset. So first off, vault gearing is going to be a lot more valuable. I don't really expect that we're going to see any more heroic splits. I think that's you could split heroic depending on how long you think the race is going to last. Say the race is going to last in a Saturday or Sunday and you want more gear. That is a potential possibility that we see more heroic splits, but I think that a Mythic Reclear is going to be big for gear. I think that the vault is going to be big for gear. Those are probably the 2 biggest points and sources of gearing. And then that will help Mythic farm be incredibly fast and then probably be able to push you over the line for Razageth.
Because nobody is missing tier.
Yes.
Nobody's missing their set bonuses. Heroic upgrades do exist. They could run some quick heroics to get specific items, but it wouldn't be the big deal that we've seen heroic splits on week 2 be in previous tiers where there's been personal loot that meant that people didn't have all of their stuff yet.
In addition to that, people are committing Valor and crafted gear this week for the Race to World First, because the Race to World First is a weird situation where you're not looking at long-term gains. You're looking at how can I juice my character the most in the immediate, like what is that going to look like? And so you're already committing Valor. You're crafting your pieces at that 418 level because you only care about killing the boss this reset or next reset. And so those things have already been committed in some capacity.
Yeah, some guilds, Echo in particular, they've been holding on to a little bit more of it than other guilds still as well, but I suspect we will see that trigger get pulled in the very near future for Echo as well.
And what else should we expect after the reset? I think that like Razageth is already going to be pulled. I think that you'll start to see like real Razageth progression after the reset.
It'll definitely be interesting. We'll get to see as well, you know, the reset difference 13 hours earlier for NA versus EU. If Razageth is very low on health, this could be the tier where we actually see it make the, not just like an argument to make the difference, but be clearly the difference maker, right? Like if for instance Liquid have Razageth at 5% health, right, and then they get their reset, they come in with great vaults and they smash that boss in a couple pulls, that would be, I think, a really catastrophic thing for the Race to World First. So it is a risk that I think has gotten a little bit more likely than at the start of this week. It's still unlikely that it will come down to that this time around, but it is a possibility.
Because I equated this to Sired and Athreus earlier.
Right.
Sired and Athreus also had this thing, but like I think that the guilds will not start pulling Razageth until Monday.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's a question. The huge variable that we don't know is how many pulls is Broodkeeper Diurna, right?
Yes.
Like that boss could be 20, could be 50, could be 150, and so which of those it is going to be hugely important for how much Razageth prog gets done this week.
If Broodkeeper is only a 20 pull boss, then I think that we are in a simulation where there is a situation where like Razageth could die immediately after Mythic reset.
Right.
Now, if Broodkeeper is anywhere honestly north of like 75, I think that's pushing the prog of Razageth for both of these guilds
into the second reset, right?
Yeah, most of Razageth prog will start Monday. You'll have like a full day of progging it, but it's not. There's almost no way, unless Razageth is criminally undertuned, which seems unlikely at this point, that because Blizzard continuously buffs it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the other hand, I feel like this is a common misconception, right? Because if you hear that a fight has just been buffed 5 times, is it likely to be too easy or too hard? The answer is usually still too easy.
Well, I think it's
like it's like when they buff a spec, that spec's usually still bad. When they nerf a spec, that spec's usually still good.
Okay, generally from what we've seen though, like whenever they're tuning Mythic bosses before they're seen, generally they end up good balance.
Yeah, often. I mean, you never know though. Is the thing.
All right, I think that's going to be it for us today.
That is indeed.
We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about. I think we'll give a little bit more comprehensive Broodkeeper overview. Just talk.
Yeah, we'll see how it actually has turned out. Not just do a little preview based on the Dungeon Journal. So
yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to be the deal with the rest of the top 5. I think that
Liquid see if Method gets in there, gets some more bosses down, catches up. Because Method are going for World First as well. They've got to catch up soon. Well, not necessarily soon, but they got to this reset at least get the same number of bosses down.
Echo is doing a good job of trying to catch up.
Yeah, Echo, I would say, had a reasonably good day today. They needed to. I think they needed to get 5 bosses today, and they did. So I think they're still behind a little bit relative to where Liquid are at, but maybe the item level is going to help them a lot.
I also think they're a little bit behind. If you had to give a projection, like right now, what do you think the odds are that Liquid wins? Like, is it 60-40?
Yeah, I think 60-40, maybe 65-35.
That's what I'm at. 60-40, I think, is about where I'm sitting right here, where it's like Liquid are ahead. Anything can happen. Race to World First is long.
All right, that is going to be it for our daily recap today. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.